So brainstem, we got the medulla oblongata, the pyramids, the pons, then the midbrain. In this view, you can see the cerebral peduncle. Now, this is the one I've been waiting for. Looking at a posterior view, you can see the corpora quadragema, made up of 2 superior colliculi and 2 inferior colliculi. Cerebellar peduncle. So here's your cerebellum. You look at the cerebellum, you see the peduncles, the connections here. So there's the superior cerebellar peduncle, the middle cerebellar peduncle, and the inferior cerebellar peduncle. The arbor vitae, you can see that right there, arbor vitae. Then you put these 2 together, and you'll have your vermis. There's your vermis. Diencephalon. So open this. Here's your diencephalon, all this through here. Now you have the thalamic portion, the interthalamic adhesion, the epithalamus. The epithalamus made up of the pineal gland and the habenula. Then you have the hypothalamic portion, that's the most inferior. There's your mammillary body, or one of them. This piece of wire, that's your infundibulum. So there's your infundibulum, and then your pituitary gland. Next, cerebrum. So all this outer portion is cerebrum. Then what you're actually looking at is the cerebral cortex. You open it up or slice it, you go through the cortex and get to the medulla. The lobes, so here's anterior. So we have anteriorly, we have the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the occipital lobe, and the temporal lobe. Now you open up that temporal lobe, and then you get to the insula. So the insula is a little brain in there. Slice that, pull it down, there's your insula. Now fissures. Longitudinal cerebral fissure. Lateral cerebral fissure. And then our transverse fissure. Transverse fissure. Pull down that cerebellum, transverse fissure. Now we'll do a sulcus. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Here's your central sulcus. So pick one of these grooves and see if it matches up on the other side. Nope, that one doesn't. Oh, yeah, this one does. So there's your central sulcus. The raised areas now, we're done with the depressions. The raised areas are our gyri, or gyri. There's your pre-central gyrus. There's your post-central gyrus. Open this thing up. Here's your cingulate gyrus. So those are those raised areas. You move inferiorly, you're going to run into your corpus callosum. It's a colossal body. Posterior commissure and anterior commissure. Okay. So that's probably your anterior commissure. Let's see if they've actually labeled it. Yeah. So let's go on this side. That makes it easier if there's something on it. There's your anterior commissure. There's your posterior commissure. Fornix. Here's our arch. Fornix. Follow that fornix. You're coming along through there. You're dropping down. Fornix. Let's remove this. Fornix, fornix, fornix coming down. And then this is your hippocampus. Medulla oblongata. Then you have the pyramid portion of it. Moving up to the pons. And then midbrain. Midbrain is through here, this area. Next, cerebral peduncle. Start removing things. Cerebral peduncle. That area through there. Where am I at? Okay, the corpora quadragema. The corpora quadragema, we're looking at the posterior view. You have, well, 1, 2, and then on this other side there would be 3 and 4. So they're made up of 2 superior colliculi and 2 inferior colliculi. We're only seeing one half of that, obviously. Now, cerebellum. Here's our cerebellum. You remove the cerebellum, and then you will have your cerebellar peduncles. You'll have a superior cerebellar peduncle, a middle cerebellar peduncle, and an inferior cerebellar peduncle. Arbor vitae. You can see that white tree-like thing, arbol, or yeah, that means tree. Arbol, Spanish for tree. Y'all say that when you're playing basketball, right? Yeah, tree of life right there. Now the vermis. Vermis is right down the middle. So you get here, you get this portion, here's your vermis. Next, the diencephalon. Go through here, bottom. We got our view here. Here's your diencephalon. Now we have a thalamic portion, so that's approximately through here. You have an interthalamic adhesion, that's that white dot. The epithalamus, I guess we do. Your epithalamus is this plus this. This is your pineal gland. This is your habenula. So you take your pineal gland and your habenula, you combine those two things, and you get your epithalamus. Hypothalamus is down here. Now, hypothalamus, you have a mammillary body. That's that little ball right there. Yeah, it's also right there. I'll show it to you on the other model as well. It shows it better on the other models. So that's your mammillary body. Your infundibulum, it's that projection right there off of the hypothalamus. That runs into your pituitary gland. So there's your pituitary gland. Now your cerebrum, here's your cerebrum, all that. You'll have that outer cortex, so your cerebral cortex, and then that inner portion, so your cerebrum's cut, you can see cortex, and then the medulla. Now lobes. You have your frontal lobe, your parietal lobe, your temporal lobe. Occipital lobe is in the back. And the last one is your insula. So your insula, you go in here, you pull down on your temporal lobe, and you lift it up, and it's like a brain within a brain. So I'm going to open this thing up. There's your insula. Tasty. All right. Fissures. So I put the both hemispheres on there. That back together. Our longitudinal cerebral fissure. Our lateral cerebral fissure. So you pull that down, that'll be your lateral cerebral fissure. Your transverse fissure. Oh, get in there. Oh, come on. Transverse fissure. It's the problem with live TV. Sometimes the models don't cooperate. All that for transverse fissure. Ready? Pulling down on the cerebellum. And that is your transverse fissure. Now your central sulcus is central sulcus. It's going to look different on the other ones. It's going to look more anterior. So central sulcus. Now our raised areas, our gyre or gyri. You have a precentral gyrus. So we just did central sulcus. Now if you're pre it, you're before it. So pre-central sulcus, or precentral gyre, sorry. Precentral gyre. It's that raised area in front of that central sulcus. So precentral and then post-central. Oh, what do we got now? Cingulate gyrus. Cingulate gyrus is through here. So it's that raised area through here. Below that is going to be your corpus callosum. Posterior commissure and anterior commissure. Oh, let's see. That's probably your anterior commissure. And your posterior commissure would be inferior to this pineal gland or pineal body, so it's not showing it very good on this model. Yeah, we'll see it on the other model better. But your posterior commissure will be approximately here. Septum pellucidum, you can see it here real good. So there's this membrane, this thin membrane. Septum pellucidum. Fornix. Fornix. Get that one right here. So we got our fornix. Fornix. We're going to pull this off. Follow that fornix around. So more fornix, fornix, fornix. Rip this part out. Fornix will then lead to the hippocampus. So there's your hippocampus.